Well, good morning. It's lovely to have you here joining me from wherever you're at. And we're going to work today on, on focusing on our shadows. So there's a quote from Mickey Scott Bay Jones, and it's part of a poem. It's a lovely poem, but one of the lines of the poem is, "We all carry scars, and we have all caused wounds." So I'll read that again. We all carry scars, and we have all caused wounds, right? So these are shadows, these things, right? The scars that we have from growing up, um, and going through our lives, and the wounds that we have inflicted, they tend to cause us embarrassment. They make us humiliated. Maybe we feel inadequate and less than because of these, right? And sometimes it causes us a deep dislike for ourselves or for a part of ourselves, right? And we often push these parts of ourselves down, right? These imperfections, we kind of push them to the side and we don't want to think of them, and we don't pay attention to them when we put them away, right? But the problem is when we suppress them, they tend to control and limit us. So they're kind of, if we see them like they're demons, right? When we hide them, they tend to grow. And then, and the way that they grow is that it affects how we act, how we behave with ourselves and with other people. So if you've been to my parenting retreat, we talked about this a fair amount, but I'm just going to give you an example from my life. When I was growing up, I would have these incredible tantrums, and I would go ballistic. And my parents really didn't know what to do with me, and so they just used to lock me up in the hallway, right, which obviously didn't help. And it made me more angry. And so I kind of like pushed that away. It was embarrassing, right? Because I was made to feel like I couldn't control myself. Um, I felt like I wasn't worthy of being treated in a better way, all of those kinds of things. Um, and I didn't really deal with any of that, but unfortunately, I also then would have these outbursts and this lack of control and the way, and trying to control others in my relationships, whether it's in my relationship with my husband or with my son. So I'd be very controlling, which I still am sometimes. I'm not saying I've completely solved it, but once I start looking with compassion at this particular part in my life, not blaming my parents, they didn't know what to do with me, right? They were at a loss. But when I can look at it with compassion and say, well, I wasn't really listened to, right? What I really needed was I needed somebody to listen to me, and they couldn't listen to me in those moments. And when I look at it with compassion, and I accept this and I embrace this who I am, this part of me, then I'm able to deal with people in a better way, and I can allow this demon to let go a little bit and to not be as controlling in my life, right? So only once we recognize these shadows, these imperfections, and we look at them with curiosity and with compassion, only when we recognize that we're not horrible people, that we shine a light on these parts of who we are, we embrace them, we just sit with the discomfort, only then do our shadows then lose control and power over our lives. Okay, so we need to look those demons in the eyes for them to diminish, and then you find space to learn and grow. So it takes some honesty, it takes some courage and bravery to accept and embrace our humanness, our mistakes, right? We're all human, we all make mistakes, and that is very liberating. For us as humans, as individuals, we need to do this, and as a society, to look and to understand what happened right? What were the challenges? Why do I have these patterns? Why does our society have these patterns? How can we break these patterns by really addressing our shadows, embracing our shadows, and learning from them? So that's what we're playing with today. And so we're going to start lying down on your back. So you can come down onto the ground, lying down. So it's almost like Shavasana. If you like, you can bend your knees as you come down and help you to press your lower back into the ground, or you can have your legs straight out, whatever feels good. And then I want you to close your eyes here if it feels okay. Or otherwise just have a soft gaze. And just checking in with yourself here. And maybe noticing if there's a particular shadow that is eating at you or has been. And maybe just acknowledging that. And finding a little bit of compassion, maybe giving yourself a big hug here with your hands, just wrapping your arms around you, giving yourself a big hug, that compassion there, right? And maybe setting an intention for curiosity, to think a little bit more in a different way about that shadow. And then you can unravel your arms, placing them down, really just feeling yourself and your connection with the ground here, that solid ground there to support you, right? It sometimes seems frightening to address those shadows, and of course some of it might be really traumatic. So you have to take it step by step. So starting with the easier shadows, perhaps. But feeling that there is support, right? And once you embrace those shadows, your light can really come out. So feeling the ground, maybe noticing sounds around you, really grounding yourself, finding the support, that's the things that ground you. And finding your breath here too. So that's also a really grounding activity when we focus on the breath with intention. So I want to do a three-part breath here. You can place your right hand on your belly, left hand on your chest if you like. So we're going to inhale for the count of 4, hold the breath for 7, and exhale for the count of 8. It's all through the nose. So again, it's an inhale through the count of 4, holding your breath for the count of 7, and exhaling for 8. So you can do it at your own pace. Remember, inhale 4, hold 7, exhale 8. Keep going and just notice how this breath is treating you. If you're finding it hard to keep to that count, notice those frustrations, what comes up for you. But keep going. And then make this your last round. When you finish with it, you can let go of the holds, making your inhales and exhales through the nose just even with each other. And taking a pause here for a moment. And then you can open your eyes. We're going to come into eagle leg. So that right leg is going to come over the left. You can just hook it over, or if you can tuck the toes, tuck your toes, all good. The left arm is going to come over the right. So we're going to come into eagle arms, or you can give yourself a hug here. We're going to inhale, extend the feet away from you, fingers up overhead as much as you can. It's challenging. And exhale, bringing the knees and the elbows towards each other. You can lift the head and shoulders if you like. And breathe here. So it's quite hard work for the core. And again, notice if challenges come up with for you. Just observe them. Meet them with intrigue, with curiosity. And sometimes when we get frustrated, there is a shadow hiding beneath it, something that happened to us in the way that we grew up, what was going on. So it's about just identifying that. And it might not come straight away, you might not work it out. That's okay. Inhale, reaching up, lengthen out, lengthening, and maybe dropping the head and the shoulders, allowing them to break. And then one more time, reaching towards each other. Deep breaths here through the nose. And then you can move the elbows over to the left side a little bit. Inhale through center and exhaling them over to the right a little bit. And release everything, unwinding everything. You can bring your feet max distance apart and just allow them to knock together the knees. So just bringing knees towards each other. You can close your eyes, pressing the lower back down into the ground. And just allow release, letting go. And then we're going to go for the other side. It's the left over right this time with the legs, and the right over left with the arms. So we're going to press the feet away from us, fingers up overhead, and exhale, bringing knees and elbows together or towards each other. Lifting head and shoulders if it feels okay. Breathing here. Notice the challenge. It's when things get hard that those shadows rear their ugly heads. They're normal, just seeing if we can embrace them. Inhale, reaching back, head and shoulders down for a moment. And then calming in one more time. Remembering these are just suggestions. If it's too much, you can always just let go. There's no requirements here. Bringing elbows a little bit over to the right. And then bring them over to the left. Back to center. And unravel, release. This time you can bring the soles of your feet together. Knees can come out to the sides and just allow yourself to relax. Deep breaths here into the belly, into the chest. Then we're going to come up, the legs coming up to the sky. Feet pressing up. If you've got your knees bent, that's absolutely fine. Just hanging out here in like legs up the wall for a moment. And then you're going to bring the right leg down. Arms going to lift, shoulders and head lift. You're bringing your fingertips towards your feet or your extended foot, the right extended foot.
So again, you're working quite hard with your core. Taking a couple of breaths. And then we're going to switch sides. One more time, switching on both sides. One last time on the other side. And release. Knees come into the chest, and you can give yourself some little circles or make some little circles with the knees. A little lower back massage here. And then go in the other direction. Giving yourself a big hug. Not just all the bits you're proud of, all of you, the whole part of you, your wholeness. Giving yourself that hug. And then you can roll yourself back and forwards, giving yourself a massage all the way up the spine. And then coming into seated here. So while we're in seated, we're going to have the feet come out, toes are coming up, sitting up tall, maybe bringing the hands behind us to help, tenting the fingers, finding that length through the back. Now, I'm going to grab onto my right toes with my index and middle fingers. You can use a strap or a towel or something like that, or you can just have your knee bent. It's absolutely fine. You're trying to keep your back straight. That's what's most important. If you can lengthen it or you've got a strap, go for it. And we're just going to come into circles with that leg. So we're just coming in one direction and going in the other direction. Lovely. Excellent. Placing it down. Other side, you might need that strap or bending the legs, all fine. And you're going in circles. And going the other direction. Great. You can place that down. Grabbing, well, you're going to come out to the side, so you can grab them or just move your legs out to the sides. So you're coming into a strap. This is one of the poses I really find challenging, but we're playing with facing our shadows, facing those parts that we like less. So it's important to do poses that we don't like very much, right? That really helps us in many ways. So we're finding length here again. The fingertips can come behind us, lifting up here. And if you've got much more flexibility than I do in this pose, you can bring yourself down any amount, trying to keep length through your back as you do. So finding that pose, you can also grab onto your feet if that makes sense for you and find your way coming forward. You can also bend those knees any amount and bring yourself lengthening with the back. So just breathing here, sitting with the discomfort when something's not pleasant, accepting that, not trying to run away from it, breathing here. And we can inhale, come all the way up. And we can fold over towards the right leg, coming through center, up over the left and center. And then we go the other way, coming down over that left leg, reaching forward over the right and up. We'll do it one more time. Going down over the right, reaching forward, coming over the left and up. And then we go the other way. Left, reach forward, over the right, and up. Hands coming
to heart center. Lovely. Feet coming together. Give yourself a squeeze here, calming onto hands and knees. Excellent. We're going to take that right leg behind you and then tuck it behind the left. So the knees are crossed. You're coming to sit between your feet here. So I'll show you from the front. The knees should be stacking. Now you might find they don't quite stack the same way, that's fine. But work as closely as you can, or if it doesn't work, you can come into something else that feels more comfortable. Okay, so you're here for a moment, but you're going to open up through the chest, so you can bring your fingertips behind you and just opening up here. Maybe you might even grab onto the elbows, finding a little bit of openness here. Taking a breath. And then we're going to bring the right arm over the left here. Excellent. And we can bring the chin down towards the chest and roll the head over to the right and back, over to the left and down. So we're just making circles with the head in one direction. And when you get to a good point, you're just going the other way. Great. Releasing everything here. You're going to come back, bringing that right leg out and back down to the ground. So other side, left leg comes up this time. We're tucking it behind the right and we're sitting down between the feet. You might need blocks underneath you or books to make this work. So again, you can place fingertips behind you, opening through the chest, or you can bring your hands to your elbows and open up through the chest this way. It's a little bit of openness here. A little bit of vulnerability is good. And then we can bring the arms out. Left over right. Eagle arms, pressing them out and up. And then again, you can bring the chin down towards the chest. And you can come into circles with your head and your neck, just releasing here. Just very slow circles, whatever feels good. You can always stop in a particular place which needs a little bit more attention if that feels good. And then go in the other direction. So you might find your head doesn't have enough space to go very far down in the front, and that's okay. Just listening to whatever your body's saying, releasing through the arms, releasing through the legs. Excellent. We're going to come down on the forearms here. And then we're going to tuck the toes and come up into plank pose on the forearm plank, basically. So we're lifting through the hips a bit. We're pressing the heels back behind us, making sure the elbows are directly underneath the shoulders. You might even move a little bit forwards and back here. And then we're going to walk the feet towards the elbows, finding dolphin pose. You're pressing the ground away from you. And so that you're pushing your sits bones or your butt up and back behind you, allowing the head just to drop between the arms. And taking a few breaths here. You can have knees bent any amount, getting that length through the back if you like. Breathing here. It's quite intense, or it can be, so breathing. Being kind, being compassionate, lifting up through that left leg if that's going to work for you, pressing it up and back, and then calming down, other side, up and back.
One more time, that leg comes down, pressing up and back, and knees come down, calming into a child's pose here. Deep breaths. Moving the hands over to the left, right on top of left, head can drop again. Finding a nice side stretch. And then we're going to come back through center and over to the right. Left is going to come on top of right. Calming back through center. We're going to come back. You've got a choice. You can come back onto the forearms, or you can come onto your hands if you like. We're going to come into plank one more time. So forearm plank or plank is all good. Taking a breath here. We're then going to move into a side plank. So you can just roll onto the sides of your feet. You can always have your knee down here as well. So the bottom knee down, up to you. So you've got lifting up through the hips, finding this pose. You can also bend a knee, the top leg, and just place it down. You can also make a diamond, if you like, with your fingers and with your arms. And you can also play with lifting up a leg. None of these things need to be done if you don't want to. Your choice, or tree pose, whatever feels good. It's okay to feel wobbly, we're all imperfect. Maybe we can't do it at all, that's okay too. Just breathing, finding a pose that works for you. Calming back to center. It's challenging. We've got one more side. Only one more side. So we're going to the side this way. Remember, the knee can be down, or you can bring a foot down, calming on up. Any variation here, hips are coming up. You can make a diamond with your fingers, with your arms. Finding wobbles and all, that's okay. Breathing here. And coming down, knees coming down. You can walk yourself into puppy dog. So your butt is directly above your knees. Chest is coming down to the ground. Taking a few breaths here. And slowly making your way back. Sitting down on your heels. Maybe bringing hands to heart center. Taking a couple of breaths. So if your toes are tucked, it can be quite uncomfortable for your toes, but it's actually quite a good pose to help spread the toes, to help put some weight on different way. It's a way to give our feet a little bit of love, but just going as far as you can and taking a break if you need one. Inhaling through the nose. Exhaling mouth. Inhale nose. Exhaling mouth. One more time. Inhale nose. Exhaling mouth. Wonderful. We're just going to come up, hips pressing forward. We'll bring the arms out in front of us, and we're just going to lean back. So we're trying to get length from knees all the way to shoulders or top of the head. You might get to a point which is super challenging, just pausing there and breathing for a moment. Inhaling, finding your way up. We'll do one more of those in a moment. In the meantime, thumbs come towards each other, elbows coming towards each other,
pressing them in, finding a little back bend before you do anything, pressing the hips forward, finding length up before going back any amount, finding any variation you like of camel pose, Ustrasana. So you can bring one arm down, you can have one arm up and over, or you can bring both arms down to the heels. Anything that works for you, or just keeping your hands at the waist is all good. Taking a breath, inhale, coming up, exhale, but down to the heels. Taking a breath here, you can close your eyes, letting things settle. Embracing all of those bits, the pieces of you that cannot do something, or that struggles with something. Those are all things that make you you. You makes you unique and special. So embracing all of that. Inhale, coming on up. Arms come out again in front of you. Leaning back. Breathing here. See if you can take a few more breaths wherever you get stuck. Inhale, coming up, hands coming to the back, elbows squeezing in, pressing those hips forward, opening the chest up. In spite of all of those things that we build up to protect ourselves, right, from all those wounds, all those scars. If we can open up a little bit around them, knock down some of those protections, we can find the benefit to that. Coming up, sitting down one last time, closing the eyes and breathing. Now we've got options here. We're going to maybe bring the knees a little further apart and sit between the knees. You might need to, if there's any pain in the knees, this is not going to work for you. You could put something underneath your butt, so you could lift up your butt a bit with a cushion, with a block, with some books. Okay. Otherwise, you can just come onto your heels as well. But if you can, and it doesn't say anything about you, whether you can or you can't. It just says that we all have different bodies. But if you are able to get in between your shins, and you grab a hold of them, of the calves more, and you're just like rolling them out to the sides to make some space. Again, no pain on your knees, please. If there's any pain, then back off and find another way to do this pose. And then if you've got more space, you can lean on back. And maybe you can come all the way down. Again, you don't have to get here. This might be way too much and way too intense. In which case, you just find the space which works for you. There are loads of options here. And open through the chest wherever you're at. Breathing here. And then, when you've done 2 more breaths, when you come up, your hands come down. You're going to come into a downward facing dog. So your hands are not going to move, right? All you do is you tuck your toes, and this is the perfect placement for your hands and feet. You don't need to move them once you go up. So spreading fingers, and then you just tuck and lift and find your down dog. And as always, bending the knees a lot or any amount can help straighten through the back. And you can move your knees and your legs from side to side. Finding
a way to make this pose as useful as possible. So you were having your back straight, your arms straight is key, not your knees. That doesn't matter. Taking a couple of breaths here. We're going to turn onto the sides of our feet, and we're still pressing back. So I'm just coming onto the edges and just moving the heels in one direction. Coming into center, and I'm moving the heels in the other direction, so my butt just kind of comes out a bit. There's a cross with my leg, but I'm still pressing back and up with my hands. Inhale, coming back to center, pressing back, and I'm going to then open my feet a little bit more, so there's more space between them, finding length still, so it's just a wide-legged downward facing dog. Pressing back with the hands and breathing. Walking the feet back towards each other. One more time, pressing back down dog. And then you can walk your feet 1 foot at a time up to your hands. Taking your hands palm facing up, putting them underneath your feet. I want you to get your toes touching your wrists. So bending your knees any amount so that you can get your hands all the way under. And then you can play with lengthening a bit. Maybe they stay very bent, that's fine. Lengthening your legs as much as you want with your arms or as much as you can. Looking forward here. Taking a breath. Exhale, folding down, letting the head just release. And then removing the hands from under the legs. You're going to take the right leg behind the left. So the pinkies of the feet are coming together. Inhale, looking halfway lift. You might use blocks here if you have them or something similar. And exhale, folding down towards your legs. You're going to take that right leg, which is behind the right foot, which is behind the left. And you're moving it more diagonally out to the side. So it goes back diagonally. So your legs are still crossed, essentially. Excellent. Then we're moving over onto the side of that foot. The left leg comes back. We're coming into a fallen star. So all that I'm doing is I'm stepping that front leg back, lifting up, opening through the chest. Taking a breath here. So again, if it doesn't make sense, if it's challenging, see if you can just allow whatever feelings come up, whatever challenges come up. And then you bring that left foot back up the front, right foot comes to meet it, folding over the legs. Again, you can place the hands underneath the feet, coming all the way up to the wrists, lengthening arms and legs any amount, looking forward, and release. Left leg coming behind right this time. Inhale, finding a halfway lift. So flat back, you can have hands higher up on the legs, finding that length. Exhale, folding down into those legs. Taking that left leg diagonally and back behind that foot, that other leg. And then with your hands pressing into the ground, fingers spread, you're going to lift the right leg and move it back, opening up through the arm, through the chest, taking a couple of breaths. Hand comes back down, right leg comes back to the front, left leg meets it there, and then you can just inhale, arms coming to the side, flat back here. Excellent. And inhale, coming
all the way up. Exhaling, hands to heart center, closing the eyes. Just notice how you feel. We did quite a lot upside down. So just notice how that feels. Now that you're standing up, slow the breath down. If you're feeling a bit dizzy, just maybe you don't close your eyes, but just allowing yourself just to settle back. Breathe. Lovely. Taking one more breath. And then you can open your eyes. We're just going to take the hands behind and interlace them, opening through the chest again. Taking a breath here. Lifting up through that left leg. Stepping it back behind you. Warrior one, hips are square to the front. Pressing the arms back and down, opening through the chest. Taking a deep breath. Releasing through the hands here. Opening into a warrior two. Arms coming out to the sides. Deep breath. Reaching the arms forward. Right arm down. Left arm can come up, so you've got going opposite directions with the arms. You can even bring the lower one down, your choice. And then reaching it up overhead, finding length from the back edge of the foot all the way to the fingertips. Inhaling, reaching back up. Finding your pose. You can even move from side to side. You've got it up and down rather. And then that back arm comes down, opening up here. Coming into one balancing pose where we're going to place the hand down or on a block, the right hand, or you can just let it hang in the sky. I mean in the air rather. Just feeling it, and it requires a bit of hard work if you just allow it. You know, it's not easy to balance here, so we might have to practice. Lifting up through that back leg, lifting up through that top arm maybe. Breathing here, finding that pose, and stepping back, finding your warrior two. Excellent. Interlacing the fingers here, pressing down and back, opening through the chest, and folding forward, lifting up through the arms, coming down. Inhale, coming back up. Pressing down and back, arms coming out for a moment, hands on the hips, stepping forward, finding a moment, foot comes down. Other side, different thumb on top, it should feel a little bit different, unusual. Pressing the arms down and back, right leg lifts, stepping it back behind you. Warrior two, warrior one here, hips square to the front, arms pressing down and back, opening through the chest. Being willing to explore your past some of those shadows with compassion, with kindness. And then opening up to the side, warrior two, reaching in both directions. Inhale, reaching forward, left arm comes down, right arm reaches up. Any variation that you like here. Taking a breath or two, whatever feels good in this pose. Inhale, reaching back up. You can find any movement with those arms for a moment. And then you can come into a reverse here. Inhale, arms reach either side. and then interlacing them with a different thumb on top again, pressing down and back, opening through the chest and folding forward, keeping those warrior two legs lifting up through the arms. Inhale, calming back up, reaching out for a moment, hands to the hips, lifting the back foot up and releasing. Palms come down, closing the eyes for a moment. Deep breaths through the nose, slowing the heartbeat, slowing the breath. Opening the eyes. We're going to play a little bit here with crow pose. So you might want some blocks or some books here. We're trying to make a triangle with the hands and with the blocks, right? Or if there's no blocks there, we're making that triangle with the gaze. So where we're looking in front is also making a triangle. Spreading the fingers out a lot, knees coming up to the armpits or squeezing the arms to the side, on the side. And then you can just lean forward. So part of it is leaning forward, squeezing the elbows in. When you lean forward, your elbows come over your wrists. And then you can work to lift your feet. One at a time maybe, or the gaze. So you can play with that. If you have a wall that's around you, I'll give you some ideas, or maybe you can do it later and play with this. One other option with playing with crow is that you spread your fingers in crow and you move your feet up the wall, and then you can bring, so the left leg, for example, is straight, and then you can bring right arm in, right leg in towards the right elbow. So it's like a one-legged crow, and you've got a little support. So that's just also another option that you can play with at some time over the week, if you like. Otherwise, playing with crow, if crow doesn't work for you, just coming into a squat of any kind. Even if squatting is really challenging, build yourself up, find some books to help you so that you can get down any amount. Taking a few breaths wherever you are, and then we'll come down onto the mats, onto our backs. So we're going to bring our feet down to the ground and just slowly rolling down here. Back, coming down to the ground, feeling how good it feels again to have that ground beneath our back. So the feet are going to come in a bit, their hips width distance apart, pressing the hips up, shoulders pressed down, lifting through the hips here. You can interlace the fingers underneath you, tucking the shoulders if you like. Finding a few breaths. You can lift up one leg if you like. Pressing the ball of the foot up to the sky. You can cross that ankle over the other knee, opening through the hip there. And then you can release. Other side, right ball of the foot pressing up to the sky. Crossing ankle over the knee, opening here. Through the hip. And then release. Releasing the arms,
Slowly coming down one vertebrae at a time. Knees coming in, giving yourself a really nourishing, kind, compassionate hug. Shadows and all. Every part of you is meaningful and special. Breathing here, give yourself that hug. You've got the chance, the opportunity here of making a choice. You can come back up into a variation of bridge, or you can bring your hands either side of your ears, fingertips coming in towards your heels, elbows squeezing into each other and coming up into a full wheel. So you can come onto the top of your head, and maybe that's as far as you go. That's fine. Squeezing the elbows in. You're lifting yourself up, pressing towards your chest, over your hands. And staying as long as you like. Whenever you're ready, you can come down. Give yourself another hug. Bringing the feet up to the sky, finding your happy baby, moving from side to side, hands holding onto the outside edges of your feet, knees pressing down towards the floor on either side of your body, your torso, moving from side to side, seeing if you can keep your lower back pressing down into the ground here. Excellent. And then we're going to place the feet down on the ground, still max width distance apart. So, well, that maybe they need to widen a little bit more so that they're max width distance apart. Arms come out to the side. And just dropping the knees over to the right side. If you want, you can hook that right ankle over the left knee. And you can look over your left fingertips. And then closing your eyes here. Just allow yourself to melt down into the mat. Still breathing deeply through the nose. But finding more of that inward gaze. 3 deep breaths here. And slowly coming up. And you can make sure your feet are quite far apart again, but this time dropping the knees over to the left. And if you'd like, that left ankle coming over that right knee, looking over the right arm, the right fingertips, and maybe closing the eyes, finding that inward gaze. 3 deep breaths. Calming back through center, giving yourself a big final hug before Shavasana. So then we're going to stretch the legs out any amount, feet just falling out to the side. And palms face up, arms coming away from the body, shoulders pressing into the ground. Making any adjustments you need to find comfort. So you might bend your knees a bit, press the lower back into the ground if you've got lower back issues. Whatever feels good. Just find that pose. And then give yourself permission to let go. There's nothing you need to do here. You can let go of control of the breath. Just give yourself the gift of being here in the moment.
So as always, you can stay in Shavasana if you like and just continue here for as long as you like, or otherwise you can find a little bit of movement in your physical body, wriggling your fingers or your toes, maybe finding circles with your wrists or your ankles, and then reaching your arms up overhead, finding a lovely stretch from fingertips to toe. Maybe knees into chest, one final hug of the clasp, squeezing in here, and then rolling onto your right side, using your right arm as a pillow if that feels comfortable, feeling the support of the ground beneath you. And then pressing yourself up, finding yourself in a nice seated pose. You can use blocks, books, whatever it takes, cushions, to help to get your back super tall, relaxing through shoulders, shoulder blades coming towards each other at the back. Finding your palms face up, thumbs and index fingers touching. And just pausing here for a while. Noticing how you feel, your body, your mind, your shadows, and your light. And I'm just going to end by reading you a poem by Rumi, who was a 13th century Persian poet who was brilliant. And he wrote, "Being desirable means being comfortable with your own ambiguity. The most ambiguous reality is that we are flesh and spirit at the same time. Within everyone there is light and shadow, good and evil, love and hate. In order to be truthful, you must embrace your total being. A person who exhibits both positive and negative qualities, strengths and weaknesses, is not flawed, but complete." So I'll read that one more time. Being desirable means being comfortable with your own ambiguity. The most ambiguous reality is that we are flesh and spirit at the same time. Within everyone is light and shadow, good and evil, love and hate. In order to be truthful, you must embrace your total being. A person who exhibits both positive and negative qualities, strengths and weaknesses, is not flawed, but complete. So taking a deep breath in through your nose to absorb that wisdom. And exhaling out through the mouth. 2 more like that. Inhaling nose. Exhaling mouth. Inhale nose. Exhaling mouth. Bringing hands to heart center. Inhale, reaching the arms out to the sides and reaching them all the way up to the sky, touching at the top. Exhaling, hands to heart center. Inhale, reaching out and all the way up, embracing our fullness, who we are entirely. And exhale, bringing the hands to heart center. And one last time. Inhale, reaching out and up, embracing the light and the shadows. And exhale, pulling all of that in towards our heart center. Pausing here, finding gratitude towards yourself for taking time for your mind and your body. And then bringing your hands up to your third eye center. Such a pleasure having you all here and to be able to guide you through your practice. Namaste.